Well, hello and welcome along to a very special We Happy Few 506 podcast. Subtext, The Nearly Men. I'm still up a mountain in North Carolina. Hopefully my Wi-Fi will hold. Dougie's looking blue. How are you doing, Dougie?
Yeah, I'm very well, mate. How are you?
Not too bad, just woken up, actually. Bit early here, and my baby slept in for once, so now I'm disheveled in an utterly different way because I'm disheveled in an I've slept too much type of way. Um, Yeah, but it's good. Yeah, I'm up a mountain. There's a tract of land up here that my friend owns. And I'm down here in the summer just helping him log it and do all sorts of stuff. We're hopefully going to turn it into a We Happy Few land. I'm going to do boot camps and stuff and escape and evasion stuff here. So you got to come over and help out. Oh, I can see Michael in the other box going, yeah, I want in on that one. You're more than welcome, by the way. So let me introduce our guest. Let me get your entire full name ready. So we have Michael Conner Humphreys with us. I'm not going to give you too much of an introduction because I just want people to hear your voice for a while, and then we'll go into why you're here. How are you, Michael? Where are you? What's up? How you doing?
Well, I'm in Mississippi right now.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm in Mississippi. That's where I'm from originally. And just working lately on anything I can, enjoying the summer.
Okay. What are you working on?
Well, I've actually been getting back into acting in general. Doing a lot of theater in the last year. I really, yeah, I kind of dropped off the grid during the pandemic for a while, and so I've kind of started to get back into stuff along those lines and talk to people and try and just get myself out there.
I think we all dropped off the grid and pandemic, didn't we?
Yes. Yeah.
It's
It
quite
was
hard to get back into it, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
I have to be different.
You decided to go back. You decided to go back to acting because it's been a long time. You've had many careers in between.
Yeah, I've done one of every job there is.
What brought that on? Why come back to it?
You know, I really only got interested in doing it in my 30s. I didn't really want much of anything to do with it as a teenager. And then obviously I had other jobs in my 20s and stuff. And so just kind of avoided it. And then about the time I got in my 30s, I was like, I think I really enjoy this. And it seems to be I seem to be getting pushed in that direction. So I might as well see if there's something to it. But now that I've explored it, I really do enjoy it. It's that and I was in the Army. The acting in the Army are like the only two jobs I've ever done that I really get any sense of fulfillment out of. So those are two things worth pursuing. I'm too old for the Army now, so I can't go back to that. So we'll just go with acting. I can always play a soldier. So
yeah,
good enough.
Exactly.
Yeah, we know what that feels like, mate.
Yeah.
So do you know what Jack Nicholson said? He said that the one thing in life he hates the most is being told what to do. And acting is second only to the army. So I don't know why you do it. I hate being told what to do as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to have a certain temperament for sure for that.
Yeah. So what sort of theater stuff you have a really interesting face. That's why you've got a really characterful face. Well, what sort of stuff
that could be good and bad, yeah.
No, but like I think it's good that you're sort of getting back into it now because I think you're incredibly castable. You got a great look about you.
Yeah, if I can raise some eyebrows either way, that's good. But yeah, I've tried doing like obviously I've just started out in theater, local theater, community theater where I'm at, and I've done some other shows. I was living in Portland for several years up until recently, and Portland's got a pretty good theater scene, so I had done some work out there, and here lately I've just been doing local theater. But I've been trying a variety of everything you can do. I've done Rocky Horror not long ago, and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, and just tried doing a variety of roles. I've played a soldier in an independent film, so I've kind of done a little bit of everything so far. Just trying to explore the whole thing, and then of course in real life I've done a bunch of crazy jobs that don't seem to go together too. But I'm a jack of all trades and master of nothing type person for sure.
Because I read somewhere. Company.
Sorry, you're in good company.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, I read somewhere that you joined the army after 9/11. Was that right? Was that your? was it just a burning desire for kind of revenge, or just to do duty, or what was the feeling of it?
No, it actually 9/11 happened when I was 16. I was still in high school, and I wasn't old enough to join yet. And then when I got out of high school a couple of years later, I didn't immediately want to go in the military. I actually went to college for about a half semester, half semester, and decided that I wasn't ready to keep sitting in school at that age. And it was like, I think I'll try the military instead. But I knew that at that time, because of 9/11, that if you were going to be in the Army, that was a good time to do it because there would actually be plenty to do. See, I'd always been warned by my family members were in the military, and they had always told me that, like, if you join the military in peacetime, you'll be doing the same thing for 4 years straight, staring at a screen or whatever. Like, they were just like, it's not that much fun, But then, like, in wartime, I'm like, okay, they'll actually send me places and I'll get some experiences. And and it seemed like being in the military seemed like a good progression, a way to move on from other things I had done earlier in my life. I wanted to be known for something other than just other things I'd already done up till that point.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do the segue. Let's use that as the segue. All
Yeah,
right, so
yes.
for those of you who obviously haven't read the link in bio or looked at the picture that we're going to put on this in the thumbnail, what we have with us today is a true icon of American cinema. I've got kind of hairs on the back of my neck when I'm talking about this. So you always will be the young Forrest Gump.
Yeah, that's right.
That is, I mean, you're talking top 5 movies ever made. Are we talking? Is that
Arguable?
Outrageous?
I think so.
I mean,
and it was you that gave Tom the voice. It wasn't the other way
what I
around.
wanted to talk about as well. I wanted to sorry, you're stepping on my lines, Doug, but well done. Right. So Forrest Gump is one of the most iconic characterizations in American cinema. Okay, and I'll die on that hill if anyone wants to come at me on the internet. But is it true? And this is where your question was going as well, Doug, that Tom sort of learned and mimicked your voice and actions? Because if so, the characterization of Forrest Gump is in fact yours.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly right. They as he said in interviews, he was going to kind of play the character. He was trying to figure out how to play the character, and he wasn't using an accent or anything, and they were trying to work out what to do exactly. And then when they had cast me as a kid, they were going to have me learn to act like him, and then he basically decided it was easier, to do it the other way around. And also, my mannerisms and the way I spoke as a child were perfect for the character, because Forrest Gump's basically just a kid trapped in an adult's body anyways. So that just all played together. So he started to study the way I spoke and like how I moved and everything, and just kind of in a weird way, adult Forrest is me as a kid, just turned into that character. So it's a little bizarre, but yeah, that's how they came up with it for the most part.
Because I've seen, because your audition tapes are available on YouTube. You can see them, and it is unbelievable just to watch them and go, yeah, that's the Tom Hanks voice. That is exactly the Tom Hanks voice. The intonation, the sort of the gut, the where you bring the voice from in the throat. It was absolutely amazing stuff. So it must. I mean, how old were you at the time?
8 years old.
8 years old.
It must have been incredibly overwhelming. Was that why you didn't really pursue it immediately? Because you must have, it was a big hit, this movie. And
yeah, probably. Well, overwhelming in the sense that it was great when everything happened. But afterwards, of course, I was encouraged to go do more work, and ride that obviously initial success. And I quickly found out that it involves basically living in LA, going to auditions all the time, doing this grind that you have to do as an actor that I was not prepared to do at 9 years old. I didn't want to do that. I was just wanting to be a kid and have fun. And it just didn't sound fun to me to have to jet around and try out for stuff constantly and get rejected probably constantly. And it's just, it wasn't really a lifestyle that you could convince a kid to be interested in. So my parents didn't make me do anything. So after that, we just kind of like left it alone. And I attempted to just have a normal childhood, from that
And
point on.
was that achievable? Did you achieve a
No,
normal
not really. Not for the most part. No, it's really hard to slip back into being a normal kid after doing that. It definitely changed my social situation for like all the rest of my teenage years. People always introduced me as that before they met me, really. So, and being a kid's already hard enough. You already have all the hormonal challenges and stuff going on. But then on top of that, like I just had to figure out like how to fit in from that point. So, and I've always said this. I think I know now. I thought people expected more of me all the time, and so I really let that bring myself down by thinking, well, you're not doing anything else, so you're failing. So that kind of left me in like this failure mentality for a lot of my youth. So it's a weird. It was a cool thing to do, but there's a lot of weird complications that come from it if you do stuff at that young. And of course, if you can be in one movie, but if a movie you're in is that big, it's going to be kind of a doozy as far as how it affects your life.
Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it?
Wow, that's kind of rough, man. That's kind of rough.
But it has benefits, of course, too. So.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, I guess there was probably a year in which it was absolutely fantastic, and then it's probably started to weigh you down. There, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's about right. So there was the year that the movie came out, and then for about a year after that, they sent me all over the world promoting it. I was in the UK, Germany, Japan, just all over the place. And anywhere they couldn't get Tom to go, they sent me instead. It was like the promotional person or whatever. Then this was back when they would release films, sequentially, like every 6 months in different markets around the world. It didn't all just come out at once on streaming. So Forrest Gump came out in the US, and then a half year later it was out in the UK, and then a half year later Asia. And so I just kept traveling, and it was really cool experience to have as a kid. And it actually got me exposed to the world. But after the couple of years when it started to die down, by the time I was like 10, 11 years old, it was back to like I was in school, having a normal life, being a normal kid, but I still had that thing following me around everywhere. And people would never let me forget that when I was a kid. There was no way to escape it. So going back to acting, I didn't really want anything to do with it when I was a teenager. I was just like, I don't want to talk about this. I just kind of want to escape it. And like I said, joining the Army at the time was actually a form of escape for me. I was like, people can know me for something a lot more serious now. So I can actually have something to tell.
It's a big decision to join up. But have you had family that's been in the military? Is it a kind of a bit of a family tradition in your?
Yeah, for the most part, my dad was in the Army. Grandfather. Grandfather's uncle's dad. Everybody. So.
So it wasn't that big a step, but it was something that you knew that you could literally get away from it, and have a band of brothers that would look to you for
exactly,
instead of looking for you to go perform this for us, and who that guy is to actually look after each other and be a proper right reasons.
Yeah, I knew it would be a good experience in those ways. And and I just, and of course, when I did join, a lot of people were trying to, because I was joining right in the middle of the war, everybody in my family and friends were like, no, you shouldn't join right now. This is like the last time to go in. But there's also the factor too. I didn't like when I was watching like Iraq was going on, and of course we remember how polarizing the war in Iraq was in like 2003, 2004. I got tired of watching it on TV and hearing these like contradicting narratives, and I was like, I really just want to go there and see for myself what's happening. So, and
you went there, didn't you? You did how many tours did you do?
One in Iraq.
And how long was that tour?
Between a year and a half. I think it was like 14 or 15 months.
Oh, that's long, isn't it?
They normally did 1 year, and then at that time they were always extending people because they were short on manpower. So they always kept us there longer.
Yeah.
So I won't hammer the point too much, but were there some jesters in the Army that were doing the whole Lieutenant Dan thing to you as well?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. So when I went into basic training, I didn't tell anybody who I was because I was like, it's best to just not spread that around. And I was there for about 3 weeks before like the drill sergeants found out about it, and then they already treat you like hell anyways, so it didn't really change much. Yeah, it all kind of just flowed together. But yeah, it was cool, and people seemed to enjoy having me around. And but for the most part, I just got treated like a normal soldier through most of it. I may have gotten bumped up in positions once or twice quicker than the next guy because of it, but like, other than that, it was kind of the same situation.
Wow.
What was your role in the military? Was you just a rifleman, or did you have a trade?
Yeah, infantry.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, infantry, and then I was assigned to 1st Armored Division that was in Germany at the time.
Yeah.
So I was like the mechanized infantry on the tanks and everything, moving around. But in Iraq, we were mostly clearing. In the war in Iraq, you were basically a SWAT team. Like everything was like police operations, police tactics, that type of stuff, clearing houses and looking for insurgents. So just the whole asymmetrical warfare deal. The complete polar opposite from, like World War II or Vietnam, for that matter.
Wow.
Wow. That's incredible.
And how long did you stay in the military for then?
About 4 years.
Okay.
That's about, when you sign up, you have to do a basic stint of like, I think it's 3.5 years, and you usually get extended a little bit. And then I was in from 19 to 23. And by the time I was 23, I was definitely ready to get out. I was like, I was in my 20s and I wanted to go to college and do other stuff. And I was tired of the military. But I've talked to all of my friends I was in with, and we all agree now that we wish we knew what we knew now, because we all would have just stayed in. It's a better job than a lot of other stuff you can find, in my experience.
And you still have you're still friendly with a lot of the guys you serve with, obviously, and you still
yeah. I keep up with people now. I didn't for a long time. I was really bad about not I kind of did the same thing with the Army that I did with Forrest Gump, which is after I got out, I just kind of avoided it. Didn't really talk to people about it, and didn't talk to people I'd known in there. And in recent years, I've been, talking to the guys I served with a lot more. And really, honestly, these days, I'm trying to figure out how I can help in some way with their situation.
But I kind of deal with stuff the same. I kind of, in order to process it, you have to drop it completely or move. Or like with me, I moved to another country to get away from the sort of things I was doing career-wise or work-wise back home, just because I couldn't, you need to stop and then not talk about it to process it yourself, don't you?
It takes a little time. It's good. There's a value to being anonymous.
Yes.
And that's something I found out, especially with the Forrest Gump thing. Like I've come to really value the ability to just blend in if I can, and just not, just not stick out. Can be important.
And did you go to college straight after that? What did you do?
Yeah, I went to school. I was in college for a few years and finished up my bachelor's in international relations.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that's what I was focusing on. I haven't really done anything specific to that. I did teach English to Chinese students for a while. I was doing English ESL teaching. That's about as close as I got to using that degree. But I've always been into like world affairs and foreign affairs and stuff, and kind of was considering pursuing that at one time.
Yeah, it's just great that you have the ability to just explore all these avenues and that anonymity that you have to be able to do it. It's all cool, but at any point you can go and hide under your duvet, get your little torch out, and just shine a little light by yourself on this nugget, this thing that you were, this thing that you always would be, which is one of the greatest child performances of all time, alongside sort of Tatum O'Neal in Paper Moon. I mean, that's what I wrote down in my notes. It's just,
thank you.
It's got such, but like for an 8-year-old kid, it's got such power and presence. I mean, you are playing the young Tom Hanks who went on to then win the Oscar, and your performance matches up. I mean, I'm not trying to blow smoke. I'm just pointing out the facts. It's absolutely incredible, and it's something that you can carry with you for the rest of your life.
But that's actually, I for a long time, I kind of thought I was like, well, they hired me when I was a kid just because I had the voice and all that. I was like, that's the only reason I got the part. But then in more recent years, I've found out, like they've said in interviews and stuff too, that they cast me because I was a good child actor. And then after the fact, they were like, oh, we can use his personality too. So point is it's just been recently that I'm like, okay, maybe I actually can do this acting wise, and I should give it a shot. So it took me 30 years to come back around to that, to decide to actually try and do anything with it. 30 years of learning.
They say in cricket, they say form is temporary, class is permanent. So it's not going to go away. Class is there. You know what I'm saying? Class is permanent. You're always going to have it. So if you don't, because I'm such a big fan, like a total geeky fan. Can you remember the casting process? Can you remember how it all happened?
They
and did they cast? Sorry, I didn't look at those tapes. Did they cast you with Hannah at the same time, or did you go by yourself?
They did.
First? They did.
Yeah. Coincidentally, she and I actually screened together, and then we ended up being the people that got the part. But they, as far as I know, they didn't have a kid in mind at the time, and they knew they wanted somebody from the South, so they had these open auditions that they advertised in like Memphis, which is where I tried out. I was from Memphis, Tennessee at the time. They had open auditions in like Memphis, Nashville, Atlanta, and just put it out in the news as an open call for like a 7-8-year-old kid that kind of looks like Tom Hanks or whatever. I think that's what they said in the news. And
I have the exact quote if you like it.
What is it?
A young Tom Hanks with light eyes and a quirky disposition.
Yes. They got me on the quirkiness specifically. They were like, yeah, you're a quirky kid. You can do this. I don't know how much I looked like them, but they actually ended up, most people don't know this, but my hair was dyed, and like I had contacts in and everything during the film to kind of look closer to like his, eye color and all that stuff. But yeah, they advertised it on the news in Memphis. My parents asked me if I wanted to go just for fun to an audition, because I had said I might like to be in movies, but it wasn't supposed to be a serious thing. So I went and tried it out. And all it was is I went in with a group of kids, hundreds of kids, and they just filed us all through, and we each just talked about ourselves on camera briefly. We didn't even read lines or anything. That was like the initial deal. Went through, talked about ourselves for a minute. They got us on camera, and then we all left. And they did that in all the cities with thousands of kids. And then about a week later, they called me back, and they had a callback and asked me if I wanted to come back in and be part of like the narrow group in Memphis. So they brought me in that next weekend, and that time I actually read a line from the script along with a few other kids. And then they sent me home again. And then a week after that, they called and asked us to come to Los Angeles to do a screen test with the director. Oh. So that's obviously, that's where you're halfway there at that point. So that was the big deal. That's when we knew like something big was happening potentially. So a couple weeks after the first audition, they flew me and my mom out to Memphis, and to Los Angeles. And Robert Zemeckis ran the screen test. So I met him, and they had like maybe 2 or 3 other boys there and 2 or 3 girls, including Hannah Hall. And they ran all of us together. They simulated the bus scene. And it just so happened that she and I read together, and then we ended up being the ones they picked. And again, they sent me home. A week later, you got the part. So it took like 3 weeks maybe for it to just happen. And it was just
how did that feel? Because obviously at the time, did you know that this was going to be a big, it was a Hollywood movie, right? But
being here, this has always been, what's weird for me is because I was so young, you don't process stuff as a kid the way you do as an adult. Like most of it didn't mean much of anything to me because I was just 8 years old. Like I never understood the gravity of it. And I knew like movies are cool, acting's cool. I knew that like these famous people were cool and all that. That's all I really knew about it, but I didn't know why or anything. I just was like, okay, so I'm going to be in a movie. And so I didn't absorb or process any of it the way I would have as an adult. And I don't know how I would have handled it if I had been older. Like if I had been 18 instead of 8, I probably would have flipped out and lost the part or something. I don't know. I don't know if it even would have worked out right. But it was just like a big field trip for me, honestly. It was just a big field trip. And there were only a couple of times that I got how big of a deal it was. They told me it was a Tom Hanks movie, but I didn't know who Tom Hanks was by name or anything. And when I met him, I recognized him and was like, "Oh yeah, you're the guy from Big," because I had seen his movies, So I was like, "You're the guy from Big." Dragnet, that's right. I like Dragnet, the one with him and Dan Aykroyd. That was my favorite Tom Hanks film. So I was bugging him about that the entire time. I was trying to like constantly get him to reenact scenes from Dragnet with me.
And how long was the filming, and whereabouts was it? Was it where you lived, or did you have to travel to shoot?
Most of it was done in South Carolina, around Charleston.
Okay.
Well, yeah, Beaufort, South Carolina, which is near Charleston. And the majority of the scenes that were set in Alabama were filmed there. And that's where I spent all of my time for it was a whole summer. It was like 3 or 4 months that I was there. And they just put us in a house there. Just the whole crew, the entire film. I guess Paramount Pictures had basically rented an entire island of beach houses to put, the film crew in. So, and they just kind of all had us set up out there. And that part of South Carolina, it's almost like a tropical rainforest. It's like a jungle right there on the coast. So we were kind of just like all living in the jungle in this more isolated area, that was really beautiful. It's really nice. It's all like Revolutionary War period stuff and Civil War period stuff out there. But yeah, I got to spend the summer on the beach, which was nice. And then, shooting scenes in between. And it is, they always say it's hard work. It is hard work, especially if you're a kid. Like the hours that you have to deal with, it's kind of hard. They had a hard time keeping us awake. I know that. Like me and the other kids in the movie, because you're shooting from 4 o'clock in the morning until like midnight every day. So
yeah, they've got laws against that now. They wouldn't be
probably
able to
This was the 90s.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They're called the Forrest Gump laws, actually. They
probably.
So I remember being on the set of Band of Brothers and talking about Forrest Gump with Tom Hanks, and he told a really good Robert Zemeckis story. Robert Zemeckis is a genius, in my opinion. And he said he came up to set one day. This is Tom Hanks, and he had really bad cold. And it was when they were shooting the scenes in the stadium when he was playing American football.
Yeah.
So he apparently Robert Zemeckis was way up in the gods, way up top, setting up a camera or something. And he went up to see him, and he had a cup of tea, and his hand was shaking. He's all snivelly. And Robert Zemeckis says to him, "Oh man, are you sick?" And he's like, "Yeah, kind of got a bit of a cold." And the idea was maybe he could get out of filming that day.
Yeah.
He had a bit of a cold. But Bob Zemeckis apparently just goes, "Well, that's bad, because you're doing a shit ton of running today." So he said he ran around so much that he actually sweated the cold out. And then right at the end of the day, he filmed the scene with where he's playing ping pong. And then the sergeant, whoever comes in and says, you're out of the army or whatever. And he says, "I don't get to play ping pong no more." And he said that his voice had completely gone. It's like, "I can't play ping pong no more." But they kept it in the so if you watch it, you can actually hear, "Oh, can't play ping pong no more." Tom Hanks' voice is gone completely.
That is the army remedy for a cold, is just to make you run it out. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Keep it off. Yeah.
Yes, Bob Zemeckis was like, I remember he was, a great director and all that. And I was just as stoked to meet him because he had done Back to the Future. And I was a huge Back to the Future fan as a kid. But I do remember he was a very stern director, like through the whole process. He just got stuff done, unapologetically. And I know that like me and the other kids occasionally pushed his threshold a little bit, because you got 8-year-old kids who all have ADD running around the set, and they're trying to keep us under control and just get us to do what we're supposed to do. And Bob's over there, like, you can tell he wants to scream at all of us, but he's not going to, because he doesn't want to scream at other people's kids and everything. And I remember I was there's a scene that was cut from the movie where there was supposed to be a transition scene from young Forrest to old Forrest. And we shot it, and it was the only scene that me and Tom shot together. But I throw a rock into a pond, and you see the ripples, and then when the ripples clear, it's the adult version. And that was like the setup for the transition. Anyways, we were shooting it that day, and I didn't feel like I could throw the rock as far as it needed to land on the mark. So I kept telling Bob Zemeckis we should just move the whole set over a few feet so that I could throw the rock where I wanted to throw it. And I was 8 years old. I really thought I could do that. And I was just like, "No, we should just do what I want to do." And he was just, he was like over there boiling, but he didn't want to like pop. So, but anyways, good director.
Is that your favorite Bob Zemeckis story, or is there another?
That's my Bob Zemeckis story. Yeah.
That's a good Bob Zemeckis
But he's
story,
a cool dude. I've seen him since then. When they shot Castaway, which was actually shot in Memphis, part of it. So I've talked to him since then. He doesn't seem to hold any grudges against me, really.
And you've seen Tom since as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I've seen him. I saw him at the Castaway shoot too, that's been 20-something years ago now. But I have talked to him. Tom Hanks and Hannah Hall are like probably the two people that I've kept up with the most since the film. Like I occasionally talk with both of them.
Yeah, because we were shooting Band of Brothers while he was doing Castaway. Because he was cast when he was casting us in it. He was kind of overweight, wasn't he? Was it Matt who was quite heavy? And then when we were, I think, coming out of boot camp, he came and visited us, and he was quite thin with a really long beard. Do you remember?
Yeah, I just remember like seeing a guy with like big, long, straggly hair and a beard, and like a Bob Marley Rasta hat with all his hair up in it.
That's right. Yeah,
but he did that famous weight transition during that time. Like, that's been copied now. There's a few other actors that have done that since then, but he was like one of the first people to like gain. I don't remember if he gained the weight first or lost it, whatever order he went in. But yeah, in like a 6-month period or maybe even 6 weeks, he just went from that weight and size to the other.
Yeah.
Which was crazy. But
loads of actors do it now, don't they?
Yeah. Now it's like a badge of honor if you do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you can get an Oscar, maybe. Sometimes there's the physicality Oscar. Basically.
Yeah, there is the physicality Oscar, isn't there? It's just how man
it pretty much is. And not saying people don't deserve it, but it can be. It's doing a lot of damage to your body, to go through all that stuff.
Who's the guy that does it the worst? Who's the British actor that did the
Christian Bale does it.
Christian Bale.
Yeah.
He's always gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight.
Yeah. All they talk about. I gained 28 pounds. I lost 36 pounds for this. I did. It's all they talk about. Matt Damon does the same as well. I gained 28 this and 36 that, and this. That's all they talk about. It's quite funny. Yeah,
I've never figured out how to gain the weight in the first place. I'm still working on that. So.
Yeah,
but the thing is, when you're just doing indie films and bits of telly, when you're just trying to do your job, like you get like a week's lead time before you start the job. So the idea that you could gain or lose weight is just ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's something that only the top people that I'm shooting this in 12 months. You're in it, it's like it's only when you get
the physical stuff. I thought exactly that. Like people that if you get a guaranteed role and you also have a guaranteed paycheck, then you'll be willing to spend 3 months working out and doing whatever, eating boiled chicken the whole time and all that stuff to get in shape. So doing it when it's a gamble, I'm sure, is harder. If you're trying to get something and you're shooting for it, takes more
Yeah, well, as a starving actor, I'm not going to put on weight. Do you know what I mean? You give me the money, I'll eat the food. But apart from that, thank you. I also wanted to talk about your relationship and working with Sally Fields as well.
Mm-hmm.
How was that? Because she's a fabulous actress and brilliant in that role.
Yeah, she was very well. She actually kind of sort of, I don't want to say babysat, but during the film, she had a son that was the same age as me, and they kind of wanted us to develop a mother-son relationship thing going on anyways. So I spent a fair amount of time with her, playing with her kid. And my mom and I went and saw her at the house they were staying at, every now and then. And so she was really nice, fun to work with. And then I didn't really see her much afterwards. I've actually she came and did a book signing in Portland a few years ago. So I kind of caught up with her there. But she was really nice. I just kind of remember her as like a mother figure, as you would expect from when I was a kid. But yeah, she was really cool to me. She spent some time. I think she kind of what's the word? Like my parents didn't know their way around that kind of thing, like working with Hollywood and all that. So I feel like I remember her kind of stepping in and giving them pointers and stuff and kind of chaperoning all of us a little bit.
Who I was going to go back to. I'll go back to Sally Fields, but that just reminded me of something. Who, with your parents or your family, were they most starstruck to meet?
You know, it had to be Tom, I'm sure. I don't see why it wouldn't be. Like I said, I didn't know who a lot of these people were when I was a kid well enough, and I don't really remember them saying any one person in particular that they were like amazed by. But I remember when we met Tom Hanks, it was a big deal, So like, I'm sure that's who my parents knew the most, and it was mainly my mom that stayed on the set with me. I'm not sure that my dad actually ever got to meet anybody during that filming, so it was mainly my mom that was taking care of me there. But yeah, I think Tom Hanks was the one that kind of stuck out to everybody the most.
Yeah,
maybe Sally Field too, though. The thing is, I didn't know her movies. Like her movies were like for an 8-year-old with Tom Hanks, you've seen Big, you've seen Splash, you've seen that kind of stuff. I hadn't been watching Smokey and the Bandit or anything when I was 8, so I didn't really know who Sally Field was that well at that age. But I'm sure my parents, liked her a lot as far as like her acting career goes.
This might answer a question that one I know one of our listeners has asked me. They sent me like a whole bunch of like, who's this? I think Sally Fields might have been my first crush from Smokey and the Bandit. I think so.
You think she is your first crush?
I'm pretty sure. Now, like, I couldn't remember it at the time because I was like, well, it's probably Nastasha Kinski, and then I was like, yeah, but no, but that's when you're older and you get like kind of slightly pervy crush. Your first kind of like crush, like when you're a little boy, I think it's Sally Fields. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, she was cute. She still is too. She looked fantastic when I saw her just a few years ago. I mean, I don't even know how old she is, but she actually looked the same age-wise in 2018 or whatever it was as she did in 93, as far as I could tell. So she has aged perfectly.
Yeah. And she was married to Burt Reynolds as well. Is that right?
I think they just dated, and I think they may have just dated, and then I don't know if they were ever married, but she had talked about him at the book signing I was at, because he passed away a little while back, and yeah, that's what everybody was asking her about, was Burt Reynolds, what that relationship was like. But she had nothing but good things to say about him.
Yeah, because I think that might be my first man crush as well. That's why I
asked. He would be. Yeah.
Wow.
He's kind of the quintessential man. Burt Reynolds and Sean Connery are like the manliest of men.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Pure manliness of men. All right, so I don't know how to phrase this question. Hang on a second. So what direction did Bob Zemeckis give you with the scene where the headmaster comes to see Sally Fields and they're upstairs and he's making a noise and then he comes down and is it headmaster and then you mimic him?
Yeah, the principal. Yeah,
the principal.
Oh, yeah. That's right. He well, honestly, again, so they didn't. I didn't know what was going on. They weren't going to explain it to me. They told me he was doing push-ups. Is what it was. Yeah. They said he was doing push-ups, and they had me like, you're just making fun of him doing push-ups, and I was like, okay. So I shot that. I remember I kept still laughing while they were shooting the scenes. I just couldn't keep a straight face for it. But I think within a month or two, I read the script and saw the line "Mama Gump and Principal having sex," and it was like, I think it's when I discovered what sex was. Is I had to go ask somebody, what is Mama Gump and Principal having sex mean? What is that? that was how I got introduced.
That's so cool.
That is good. Wow.
And so we may have covered this, but so then you've gone through all this process, and like it's weird. Like as a kid, often when I was acting as well, I never put two and two together. It's weird that it's gonna be seen. Do you know what I mean? Like you're just kind of mucking around, pretending to be somebody else, and suddenly it's seen. Like you could put it on a big screen, and there it is, and you're watching it back. Do you remember watching the movie back for the first time? I mean, were you allowed to? Because obviously,
yeah. I saw it when it came out, like proper, when it was actually released in like theaters nationwide. I went and saw it in Memphis about a year afterwards, and it was weird. Well, having seen it from the inside, that was seeing how it all was put together, the way it was ultimately edited, and what the whole finished product was going to look like. Also, too, like I didn't really again, because I was 8 years old, I didn't read the whole script, so I didn't really know what the story was. I just knew what my part was, basically. And so when I watched the film for the first time, I was like, all right. And I could tell at 8 years old, I was like, this is a good movie. You know, I was like, this is a good movie. It's probably going to do well. And I could tell it at that young age. And then, of course, it did. But, you know, it immediately struck me that it was going to be like a great thing. And it was interesting to see how they pulled it all together, of course.
Was there any sense, and this is just sort of a thought that's come to me now, was there any sense when you saw it and the machine starts rumbling that you sort of lost a part of yourself, or that you've given a part of yourself away? Do you know what I mean? Like that?
Yeah, there is
gone.
Yeah, there's something there. Well, there's some I'm sure some innocence, you know, as a child that went away with that. You know, my world changed with that.
Yeah.
So in a weird way, I could probably look at myself in that now, and you know, I'm can see a permanent recording of what I was like at one time, you know, and that's just gonna be there forever, you know. But I guess I can always be reminded of it. They put Forrest Gump in what do you call it? The Congressional Library Vault thing. You know, like they preserve certain films.
Oh, the Library of Congress?
Yeah, they preserve certain films. So they preserved it. So I mean, that's weird to me to think that I'm gonna be like on a roll of film for 1 billion years in a cave somewhere, you know. The aliens will find this film, you know, millions of years from now, and they won't know what they're looking at, but I'll be on there.
Some damn dirty ape when it's the Planet of the Apes. Watching it
the
back.
ape, or the ape's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, that kid was bloody good, though, I'll tell you that.
Not enough hair.
What's the strangest place you've been recognized?
Oh Lord, probably.
Like, wait, what?
Yeah, you know, I've definitely been in some weird, inconvenient situations where I didn't need to get recognized. Well, I was talking about this the other day. I was a transit cop in Portland for a little while. I was like the transit security officer, the security guard on the trains and the buses. And for like a year, because they like ex-military people, and I got there and just needed a job. So I was doing that for a little bit. But I'm basically a cop, you know, I'm supposed to kick people off if they don't have their tickets, and like, oh, and there's, you know, people on drugs and homelessness and all that. Anyways, it's not a job where anyone needed to know who I was, because it doesn't really mesh, you know. I didn't need to be there trying to like enforce the law, and then somebody's like, go, can I have your autograph, or that kind of stuff. So I was doing that job, and somebody did recognize me a couple of times. And I was just like, well, I guess I need to leave work for the day. Because all I did was just cause like an uproar of people wanting to talk to me. Oh, and then of course I have had people randomly. I do always think it's weird. Normally people have to be told who I am. Every now and then I have somebody who just sees me, has never met me before, and instantly knows. And I'm just like, I don't know how you picked me out like that, but apparently to some people I just look exactly like the kid.
Wow.
Well, the more we talk, the more I'm seeing it. So yeah, maybe
when I cut my hair, you can tell more. You know, when I have short hair and like I shave and all that stuff, you can kind of see it way more easily. When I was in basic training, there was a guy, actually, I was saying that it took 3 weeks for the drill sergeants to figure out who I was. But there was one guy from day one of basic that kept asking me if I was the kid from the movie. And I kept telling him no. I'm like, because I didn't want anybody to know about it. But I was like, no, I've heard that before. It's just a coincidence, you know. And I kept telling him that lie for 3 weeks. And then when they finally found out, he was like, man, I'm never listening to anything you ever say again. You
know? Did he also say you're a very good actor? Is that what that was?
Yeah, he was convinced I was in other movies too. Like, he was like, weren't you in Lord of the Rings also? And I was like, no, I really, really wasn't. But he wouldn't believe that either. So
yeah, there would be a time disparity there. Really weird if you were the kid in that and the kid in Lord of the Rings. It was very strange.
Yeah.
So when and how did you get back into acting? Because you've done some roles since as well. So
so
10, 15 years
I didn't
ago?
like I said, I didn't do a whole lot through my teenage years, but I did an independent World War II film several years ago, like right at Pathfinders, right out of the Army. That was like the first thing I'd done in a long time, and I still didn't really get back into it until when I moved to Portland. And honestly, I moved to Portland a few years ago. I started taking acting classes, and that led into theater. and then once I started dabbling in theater, and at first I was doing theater just because people were asking me to do parts for one reason or another. And then once I actually started to do it, I was like, okay, I really like this. You know, this is I've got the mind for acting, I guess. I'm good at trying to be other people, you know, or at least I like to try and get inside other people's heads and understand why people are the way they are. So that just, you know, obviously lends itself straight into acting. I've always said, like, I don't know who I am, so it's easy just to pretend to be somebody else all the time.
Right.
Yeah, I think every actor would identify with that.
That's it. Yeah. That's the motto.
I think the way that shows are put together now as well, things like the Netflix shows and everything. I think it's very like you. Did you see Cobra Kai, the Karate Kid remake?
I didn't. I'm familiar with it, but I haven't seen it.
All right, so I mean, basically, it's the premise. It's like, imagine it's Karate Kid, but like now, so it's like a bunch of young kids, and they're all kind of like, you know, progressive and all the rest of it. But everybody who is the sort of the parents and everything, they're the original guys. Do you know what I mean? So that you now see, but they're all really backwards and really inappropriate.
Yes.
And I just think, like, with you now, I think there's roles out there for you that could actually, you being a kid in Forrest Gump could actually sort of add some cachet to it. So I mean, this is just my opinion, but I think putting yourself out there is a very good idea. I think it'd be really castable.
It's good. The role of Forrest Gump now in my life is like, it's great to have. It's no doubt beneficial to have on my resume going towards anything that I do. You know, it's at least a way to get your foot in the door. So and it's always been that. And I guess my attitude is like, yeah, it's good to have my resume. Maybe it can get me in the door, but I also know that, like, anything I do, acting or whatever, I'm gonna have to make it happen with my own, you know, efforts. So I've had people that I've worked with over the years, like big names, offer to kind of help me along, but like I need to get things rolling myself before I go to like somebody else and, like, you know, telling them to introduce me to people and all that. So I'm trying to kind of just build up my cachet of stuff right now. And part of that's getting out there. I haven't gotten out there in so long. So
and you just need experience as well. Like
and then also the thing is I'm just as interested in doing military. I'm as interested in the military as I am in anything movie related, and especially like helping veterans and all that. So I'm kind of coming at this from two angles simultaneously, which is I am trying to act and turn that into a regular job, but I'm also trying to use my voice and notoriety to help anybody else who served like I did. You know, because so many people have issues. I'm just as messed up as they are from the experience. So like I know what it's like, and most of them don't have the voice that I have. People don't listen to them as much. So I feel I'm obligated to do something. So I'm just in the figuring out what that something is process right now.
It'll come.
Yeah. And talking about it's always a good idea. So
and like kind of, you know, I was talking to a friend the other day, and I said, like, you know, I'm always at my best when I'm helping somebody else. I'm never actually that great at helping myself and
exactly. That's
but when I'm helping someone else, I always feel the happiest, really. And that's
exactly
and I
right.
can't deny it. And it kind of irks me a bit, but I can't deny it. Yeah. So it's a good thing to do, you know,
it is.
Yeah.
And it helps you decide a direction. If you're like me and you don't, I always have had a hard time figuring out my direction at any given point. But sometimes it kind of points its own way. And whenever it's something that's going to help somebody, that's perfect.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah.
What you guys need to do is create alter egos and then help them.
That's actually a pretty good idea.
It's not a bad idea. Give yourself a different name, complete alter ego, and then help.
Well,
them.
I've got a different name right now. My nickname's Brittany.
Oh, you do. You're Brittany. Yeah. I facetiously introduce people by the names underneath, which is usually like their wife knows more about them about technology than they do. So I get a lot of like Sally's, Alice's, Brittany, and then there's just some beardy dudes out there, and I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
That's it's a tech quirk.
It's a tech quirk. You know what would be really cool that we should do, three of us, is we should do a Forrest Gump watch along.
You know, I've done that once in my life, I think with like a girlfriend several years ago. And that's the only time I've done it. But yeah, actually, I can provide some pretty good commentary.
That's what I mean. Like we'll put it out over our social. We used to do it with the band guys. Like we get like some of the Band of Brothers cast, and we'd watch like episode 10. Me and Dougie are in episode 10 a fair amount as well, and we would just sit and just let it roll. People stream it, and then you just talk over the top of it. You know, we all press play at the same time, and then you just talk over the top of it. And then
for sure.
Crazy insights. So it's actually really good fun to do, Michael. It's really good fun to do.
Oh yeah, no, it sounds like it. I've actually got questions for you guys too.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
What one? Did either of you? I know you said you're in North Carolina right now. I was gonna say, did either of you make it to any of the D-Day stuff on the 80th anniversary? I didn't know if either of you were on Europe at the time.
No, I'm in Europe, but I didn't make it. Yeah.
A
lot of the other guys did.
I just done a 2-week tour. It's like an easy company tour. So I'd just gotten back from doing that. We'd gone from like Walpole, Normandy up to the Eagle's Nest and gone all the sites. So by the time I got back, people were asking, "Do you want to go?" And I was like, "I can't go back again."
Yeah, stretched a little thin at that point.
I was stretched a little, running on empty, to quote Forrest Gump's soundtrack, the soundtrack to my life, running on empty. But also, Michael, some of the guys that went over there did some crazy World War II inspired jump out of a C-47, and I was never going to do that.
I did. That Pathfinders independent film I was talking about, that's what we did. We jumped out of like one of the working C-47s for it. There's like 2 or 3 in the world. What's that?
You actually jumped for
yeah. There's like 2 or 3 working C-47s in the world. We had one of them. It's probably the same one they jumped out of, because there's only a couple. But we had that in the film in this little air base in Oklahoma or whatever. So yeah, that's an interesting experience. I was never airborne in the Army, so I never jumped with the military.
Right.
So jumping otherwise was cool. But yeah, a lot of guys that I've talked to, veterans, we've been talking about trying to all get together at some point and do like a big visit to one of the D-Day, anniversaries. Would be kind of cool to like go there and shoot something of some kind eventually. But my other question, go ahead.
We Happy Few, we do a lot of tours to Normandy and stuff, so maybe we'll get to up there one time as well.
I'll get with you guys for sure because that's something I've always wanted to do, is get over there. I lived in Germany when I was in the Army, but I never went to any of the World War II sites outside of Germany. Yeah. So I didn't make it to Normandy or anything, but that's on my bucket list for sure.
Yeah,
it's mind blowing.
Yeah, do a tour. Come on one of your tours. That would be great.
Yeah, I would totally like to. And the other question I had was just relating to Band of Brothers. Do you guys know who Connor Ratliff is by chance?
Connor Ratliff.
No.
Okay. I won't go into a whole lot of detail, but he's an actor. He has a podcast called Deadeyes. You do know what Deadeyes is?
Oh, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
So you know what I'm talking about. That whole thing. Yeah, he I didn't realize this because I haven't listened to all the episodes, but he had the whole Band of Brothers experience and all that stuff. And so anyways, I was on his show like 2 or 3 years ago because he was interviewing anybody that ever had anything to do with Tom Hanks, And anyways, he had me on for that. And then I didn't realize that he had finally gotten Tom on at the end and had the interview with him, explaining why he has dead eyes or whatever. But I just thought that was a funny little thing. When I saw you guys were related to Band of Brothers, that's the first thing I thought about. I was like, I wonder if either of you ever talked to him before.
No,
I think
who did go on it?
I'm sure we have spoken about actually doing some type of crossover. I think it's all just scheduling. Leighton was in touch with him.
But one of the cast did go on. Well, one or two of the cast did go on.
Yeah, there was. He had some people on there because he told me about it. He had some of the Band of Brothers cast along the way that he was involved with. But
I think actually Nixon was on it. I think actually Ron Livingston might have been on it as a guest.
That sounds right. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. I just Tom Hanks going on, it's just class though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah,
I don't know where you go from there. I don't know where you go from there.
Well, that's why I had to end there, didn't it? Or
It's
did
a perfect conclusion. Yeah, it's a perfect conclusion. It's a good way to wrap it up. But yeah, I hate that. I just wondered if I didn't ever. I did the episode with him, and then I think that was right in the middle of the lockdown. So like, I just kind of forgot about it for a minute, and then I just found out that he actually concluded it with Tom at the end. So that's cool.
That's cool.
That's very cool. So we've had you on for about an hour, and I always ask this of all my prey, which is we subheaded subheading for this podcast is the nearly man. So what I do is I ask people, is there something you could nearly have been? But I think you've been everything except maybe a mermaid or a loot unicorn in your life anyway.
So it could be an acting role that you nearly got, or it could be another job or another career that because you've actually done quite a few different things. So
yeah, I could have nearly been a normal person. No, really. I could have nearly been, honestly, a pilot of some kind. That's one thing. Like in the military, if I had really gone for what I wanted to do, I'd been flying airplanes. I'm obsessed with aviation. So, but I've never stayed committed to anything long enough to amass to that point. And now I'm a little.
Cut your hair as well.
What's that?
It'd make you cut your hair as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I'd have to have plenty of changes. But yeah. Could have nearly been a pilot.
Yeah, that's
fantastic. Right. Well, we'll wind it up and I'll let you go. This has been an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure, Michael. I wish you all the best with your endeavors cracking on.
Yeah,
I'm sure the next time we speak, you'll be an astronaut or a German politician or something.
Yeah, hopefully. You'll never know.
Yeah, we'll definitely see you again, Michael. But thanks ever so much for coming on. It's been great.
We'll reach out about doing the watch along because I need to sort out all the tech here first because it needs the techie side of it needs to be quite high end. But we'll do a watch along Forrest Gump. That would be such fun.
Excellent. Yeah. I look forward to it.
Brilliant. Oh, well, thanks so much for coming on. It's been brilliant.
Thanks for having me on.
Cheers, man.
All right, appreciate it.
Cheers. Bye.
Wow.
What a dude.
What an interesting dude. Yeah.
It
seems like he's like it seems like that experience so early in his life really has given him. I should have asked him that really. Like it's really kind of taught him more about himself from quite an early age. He's very perceptive about what he's going through and what he went through. And, in the different areas and different phases of his life. It's a very interesting man, isn't he? Yeah, we'll have to do this watch along. Definitely get him back on. Yeah, he's a great guy.
He's brilliant.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll wind it up. I'll say thank you to all our listeners. I'll say seriously, thank you to all our Patreons. Thanks for keeping the lights on. And we'll be back pretty soon. We've got another incredible guest as well coming on pretty soon. Letton's kicking ass and taking names and getting guests. I don't know how he does it. He's got nerves of steel. I wouldn't ask any of these people. I'd be too nervous. So thanks to Leighton as well. And we will catch you again very soon. Thanks for listening. Cheers, guys.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.